All right, good morning. All right, so I was left a comment on one of my videos regarding my Santa Cruz, as you see right here. His name was Kaiser the Red Bee, whatever his name is, you'll see it. So I'm kind of inspired me to do this type of video. You know, what would I like to see, designed? This is also in reference to my previous video, old tech versus new tech, and over here you see my 90 Geo Tracker. It's been a project vehicle. Actually, going to take her off for a quick spin. I'm not going to tinker with it or whatever. They're not exactly fans of that, and that's fine. Make sure I put I probably left it in the hood. Okay, fine and dandy. I can just pop the hood, retrieve it, and put it in. So what I would really like to see, as you know, this is 2023 Santa Cruz. It's got, emergency, like braking, steering, all that crap, just like practically every other vehicle, that's being made, within the past few years. So what I would really like to see, certainly improvements in that design, but with that said, I'd like to have it, change the algorithms. My only reservation with, like all the, emergency stop, braking, all that, steering, all that crap, is that it's basically going to make people dumber on the road, because the vehicle's doing the work. Mine's actually kicked in a couple times, at 5 miles an hour, and then it does, and that's fine. Not when I'm not like driving and then I get distracted. It's just like at the first 5 miles an hour, and so you see a car coming, and then it does that. So it's like, okay, that's pretty cool. It'll do that. What they really should actually do is take that type of technology, improve on it, make things more sensitive to cars, traffic, cyclists, pedestrians, etc., and just kind of enhance that. Now, obviously, if you take it off-roading like I did with this thing, big mistake, you're not going anywhere. But, for most of us, include that technology, make it so it can actually detect pedestrians with good enough distance. I mean, hell, even adjust, automatically adjust, the smart cruise control to 1 car length per every 10 miles an hour, just like what they taught in driver's ed. So, if you use that, it's going to automatically adjust the car length based on how fast you're going. Like 10 miles an hour, 1 car length, 22, and so on and so on and so on. So you get my point. And also, what I would like to see is all the technology combined with the anti-theft that this has. That's what I would like to see. Oh, of course. You see if there's any evidence of I know I need a heater core for this, but that's already been covered in other videos. So that's that. It is what it is, but you get my point. Let me get back to the topic on hand here. So that's what I would like to see, and because obviously if the brakes kick in, the emergency brakes kick in, it's going to stall the motor because, it's a manual. And the other algorithm I would like to see is if it does that one time, we'll let you slide this time, and then you have to bring it back to the dealer to reset it. And either way, maybe that might, wake people up and teach people how to drive. Because, again, the more reliant we become on all this technology, the weaker we become. It's analogous to safety equipment. The back support, when you're doing heavy lifting, use it for that one time when you're lifting and then remove it. You don't want to over rely on it. So you see where I'm going with that. And, like I said in my previous video, old tech versus new tech, why can't we take something the size of that tracker? Does everybody really need all this car? I mean, if you have a big family, okay, I'll buy that. But, you know, for the average folk, I'm a single guy, no kids, blah, blah, blah. You know, in reality, you know, I'm a truck man, but I don't really need all that truck, you know, that you can kind of see in some of the other examples. You know, realistically, you know, something like this, you know, maybe with a slightly longer wheelbase and a bed the size of that would be perfect for me. You know, occasional trips to Home Depot, you know, dump run, all that crap, and, you know, I can take it off-road, and so on and so on. You know, this is really, realistically, all that we need. And back to my point of combining all that tech with a manual transmission, you know, because when you're a manual, you're more engaged with the vehicle. And this thing also has sensors on the steering wheel. I mean, they're a little glitchy. What do you expect? It's a new tech. You know, what it really should do, and this is what I would really like to see, you know, again, the one time, you know, you're on the road, you're in between places, and, you know, God forbid somebody has a medical emergency right behind the wheel. You know what happens. We've seen enough of those videos. You know, if they put the emergency stop steering and, you know, your wheels are off, or your hands are off the steering wheel for a certain amount of time, an algorithm can sense that and say, boom, stall the vehicle, and, you know, hopefully, you know, that might cost a lot of money for that, but stall the vehicle. Chances are there's going to be bystanders who are going to call 911, but the vehicle will be stopped. You know, you're unlikely to have hit anything. You know, if you do, it'll be ding. You know, so you're not going to plow someone over or total your car. That's what I would like to see. You know, even if, you know, you're not in the manual transmissions, you know, again, I know that might be, you know, expensive to do, but again, you know, if the algorithm, you know, in the steering wheel is detecting that your hands are not on the steering wheel because you fell unconscious, you had heart attack, etc., you know, that should trigger all the emergencies, have it steer and stop. That way, vehicle doesn't get totaled. And, you know, again, you know, the benefit of the manual is that the engine's going to stall. You know, and again, you know, if it does that, if you're distracted and then the emergency shit kicks in, because it's manual, it'll stall. And that's going to require more effort because you got to restart the vehicle. You know, maybe in your brain you might be like, I think I need to drive more carefully. Anyhow, that's it for this video. I'm actually going to take the little guy for a spin. I'll talk to you.